Hey, welcome back to another episode of Work Comp Talk. My name is Carmen, and joining me once more is Bilal Qasim, president and co-founder of Pacific Workers, the Lawyers for Injured Workers. Speaking about lawyers, obviously the topic is always about, workers' compensation. But today in particular, I want to dive into something that it's going to sound funny, and it's just kind of like a taboo. It could be. I could be wrong. I don't know. But the fact that lawyers are so shady. Like, have you ever heard that one, Bilal?
No, not at all.
Oh,
Not at
like,
all.
no, this lawyer is so shady. Like, why would I hire a lawyer? He's just going to take my money. Like, I don't need to hire a lawyer. They're liars. Like, they just screw you over. Like, there is this perception about attorneys. People just don't really like them.
Yeah. I think an alternate name for us is bottom feeders or something like that. Snakes, sharks. Sharks. I like shark. That's at least has some like positivity with it. But
Shark is okay. It's doable. Because if you
Yeah.
think about a shark, it's like, okay, maybe the shark can go fight for me type of situation.
Yeah.
Specifically when you're seeking any legal type of advice from an attorney, you want someone to like bite the bad person and stuff
Yeah.
like that. But
not like
bottom
the
feeders,
snake,
it's
right? Like slithering around at the bottom, all slimy and
No,
gross. No, yeah.
But all BS to the side and all jokes to the side, there is, in fact, a study that was done, and we've mentioned this prior in different types of episodes that we've had. Lawyers are categorized in the same category as a prostitute.
Yeah. So there's that study you're talking about. They went around and they asked people like, how do you feel about these certain occupations for trustworthiness and credibility? And you had, paramedics and firefighters. They're super high
Heroes.
up top. Everyone loves them, right?
Of course.
You could have like a paramedic robbing a bank and no one will take it. Yeah, it's like not a big deal.
Oh, they're
But,
just
like,
trying to give them money to get new
Exactly.
ambulances.
But then lawyers, they were right there down below prostitutes.
Yeah.
Which,
Prostitutes even had a higher
Yeah.
rank than lawyers.
yeah, it's unfortunate. That's my chosen career. But, I'd like to think there's some good people out there.
How does that make you
doing it.
feel?
It's a little disappointing because I didn't think about that kind of thing when I first went to law school. I was like, oh, this is going to be so exciting.
Right.
I get to add these like initials after my name. I get to wear suits and go into court and like advocate for people. And then like no one likes you, right? So it's like, why did I like go to grad school? Why did I spend all this time and money and effort and stress out and like do all this stuff? And it turns out everyone thinks I'm, a dirtbag, right?
Literally,
It was a little weird coming into terms with that, but there's good in it too.
That's exactly why I want to jump into this topic today. And it's a question that comes out a lot. A lot of people don't even understand why they need to hire an attorney. They don't understand what an attorney is going to do for them. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. We're going to run through this taboo, and you're going to help us figure out exactly if I'm injured. Let's just say I had an accident, whether it's personal injury, whether it's an injury that happened at work. Why should I hire an attorney? What is an attorney going to do for me that I can't do for myself? Like, of course, I want to take as much money as I can on my own, but hiring an attorney is going to mean I have to pay this attorney some type of percentage. Can I really pull this off on my own, or am I really better off just hiring an attorney? Have you ever had that question asked? Do customers ever come to you, clients ever come to you and ask you that?
All the time. It's the biggest question, right? They want to know, what are you going to do for me?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, generally when a client comes to us, right, the first kind of screening is like, okay, is this lawyer one of the snakes or
Right.
is this one of the sharks, right?
Exactly.
Like which one is this firm? Are they going to be the people that are shady and just kind of put me through the system and take my money and run? Or are these people really here to help me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And our firm is the latter, right? I'd like to think we're sharks at our firm, right? We do a killer job of representing clients. We put their interests first. We work incredibly hard to make sure the clients get the best results possible. And really, from a client's perspective, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you've never been injured at work, you don't know what the system is. And so you don't know what you're missing out on.
Right.
And quite frankly, the lawyers do a lot to better your case, a lot. From selecting doctors to ensuring you're getting the right benefits. And ultimately, when you get a permanent disability rating, making sure that that's fair, which ultimately determines the monetary value of a case. An example of that I can think of off the top of my head is I had a client who came to me. I believe it was a back injury. She was offered $40,000 from the insurance company to settle her case.
Mm-hmm.
She just wanted to talk to my firm to say, hey, is this a decent deal or not?
Right.
And I told her, hey, I'll do a consultation. I'll look at this. I'll tell you if it's a good deal. I'm not going to charge you. I'm here to help out. So if you don't want my services, but you just want me to say, hey, are you getting screwed or is this something you should take? Totally down to help you.
What
It
happened?
took like 5 minutes to tell her that that was complete crap, right? The 40 grand was nothing for what this woman was entitled to.
Oh my goodness.
And it only took me, I told her that, quite frankly, and I really tried to push her to see the value I could add. And I know, again, lawyer, so it's like all these sirens or red flags are going off, like, don't
Like,
trust
he just
that
wants
guy.
my money.
He just wants my money. He's just trying to sign me up. No, but luckily I think I really talked her into it. And sure enough, I think 5 months later, I settled her case for $180,000.
Shut up. Can you imagine if she would have just taken the $40,000? Like how much she would have actually lost from it? It sucks.
Yeah. She wouldn't have been able to take care of herself with that,
How do you secure a future when you think maybe at the moment she's like, yeah, 40,000 is a lot. I get to buy myself a car. But ultimately what you're settling for is future medical. Who knows? That injury can affect you in the long run and you're going to need to find a way to pay for it.
Absolutely.
So 100 and whatever and 40 is a huge difference.
Yeah. And I mean, look, people get excited when they get presented these small settlement offers. And I say small kind of condescendingly because in reference to what people truly deserve, the amount the insurance company usually offers them is shit, right? It's not adequate at all.
Why?
Because they can get away with it. Look, I mean, I don't have $40,000 in my wallet. Do you?
No.
if I did, maybe different story. But if you have children, you have rent to pay, you have bills, you need food, you need gas money, whatever the case may be. You have a sick parent or family member or friend, whatever the case may be. That's a lot of money. It's no joke. And so if you're in a situation where that money seems like it's going to impact your life in a positive way, maybe you set aside your own health and you take it.
Yikes. But then what if it comes back and chews you?
Well, that's what it usually does. It's usually 5 or 6 years later when you really need more serious care and you can't afford to take off the time from work. You don't have money to pay the medical bills, whatever the case may be. Then you're really in trouble.
Yeah. So it's a good thing then to seek out help from an attorney because obviously, like you said, you don't know what you don't know. So an attorney can actually really call the shots for you because technically without an attorney, the ones calling the shots are the defense attorneys or the insurance companies.
Yep.
And since you don't know the system, you don't even know that you're getting screwed over.
No, not
Do
at all.
clients ever come to you and thank you, or do they ever say, you're not doing anything for me anyways, I could have done this on my own? Like, I'm assuming that happens all the time.
I get both. I have clients. I had one client, I think she opened a vegan bakery or she had vegan bakery options afterwards. She made me these delicious, not just me, she made the firm delicious cupcakes and they were amazing. I've had clients, hug me and cry and say how much I've changed their lives and how much I've positively impacted them and stuff. And that's great. I've also had clients who are like, you haven't done anything for me. You've literally done nothing. I would have done better on my own. And, that hurts to hear,
Why do you think they say that? When a client comes and says, you haven't done anything to me, is it the way the system works? Is it just the person just being straight up mean? Why would a client say something like that?
Most of the time, and I say most of the time, sometimes it's just completely unjustified. I've explained to them what we've done. I've explained the system and they still don't get it. Other times it's the system. The system is so old, it's so archaic, it's so slow, and we're really limited in what we can do that I think it comes off that the client doesn't see those things and they think we're not doing a lot of work for them, and when in reality we are. We're just operating in the confines of the system.
So let's run a quick scenario. I hire an attorney, right? I got injured at work, and then I decide, you know what? I'm just going to hire an attorney just to be on my best side. What's the process like? From hiring an attorney, what does that look like?
So you meet with an attorney. The attorney generally will go over your case with you, ask you about your date of injury, the body parts involved, how the injury happened, where you sought medical treatment, kind of get all the background info.
Right.
From there, we file the claim form and the application with the board indicating that we want to start litigating the case. We send out a notice that we're representing you to the insurance company, to the court. From there, if you're not happy with your doctor or you don't have one, we'll generally find a doctor for you, which generally requires some specialized knowledge. Otherwise, you might pick the wrong doctor and that'll tank your case. From there, it really depends on what's going on with your case. If your case is denied and there's a factual dispute, we might do discovery, take depositions, subpoena documents, things like that. Okay. Same thing if there's a legal issue, and we may set your case for trial right away on those issues. Otherwise, if your case is a medical case where there's things in dispute medically, not legally or factually, then you go through the process of seeking medical treatment. You may go to what's called a qualified medical evaluator or an agreed medical evaluator in your case, which is another big deal. And that's probably a whole another separate conversation.
Right.
But then throughout the case, the lawyer's really making sure that your benefits are paid at the right rate and they're paid on time, that you're reimbursed for out-of-pocket expenses and mileage. We're auditing doctor reports to make sure the doctors are doing their job. If the insurance company's denying treatment, we're appealing the treatment denials. We're making sure that the denials are on time, or if the authorizations are on time. We're really kind of making sure that everything's going fairly for you and that the insurance company's doing exactly what they're supposed to do. And when they're screwing around, we hold them accountable.
Right. And how often does that actually happen? How
Pretty
many
much
times
all the time.
do you have to point the finger and be like, what are you doing?
All the time.
Wow.
Clients' checks are chronically late. Authorization letters aren't sent to doctors. They're missing, or whatever the case may be. There's constantly things going on that require our time and attention. And oftentimes the clients don't necessarily see that. They may not get a call from us for a few weeks or a month, and they think, okay, well, I haven't heard from my lawyer for a month, so clearly they're sitting around doing nothing. When in reality, we're calling doctors' offices back and forth. We're faxing authorizations. We're sending hateful letters to the insurance company.
Right.
We're requesting court dates. We're reviewing medical records. We're subpoenaing stuff. We're still really hard at work. It's just maybe that downtime the client perceives there's not a lot going on, when in reality there is.
It's funny that you touched that, though. The client might perceive the fact that, okay, my attorney has not called me in a month. They're not doing anything. But if you also think of the side of the client's stressing over this. They probably lose sleep over it. Their stress is beyond belief. So not hearing for a month from your attorney is also kind of like, what the hell? Where am I? So it
absolutely.
It
yeah.
sucks.
I mean, I know if I call in somewhere for a customer service call and I ask for a call back and I don't get a call back in 20 minutes, I'm upset, right? I get super mad. So I can't imagine, from my client's side, hey, I've got this lawyer supposed to be representing me and I haven't heard anything for a month. Sure, I'd get super freaked out too.
Right.
I think there's a big difference in our world between firms that might not necessarily update their client every week or every day versus those that are just completely unavailable.
Right.
So for example, at my firm, we're always available via text, email, phone, office visits, whatever you need. If you reach out to us, we'll get back to you.
Right.
So just because we haven't reached out to you doesn't mean there's nothing happening. And we like to be an open door for people to call in whenever they're feeling insecure.
Right. So it's pretty cool that you say that, though, because I feel like now people have a perception of what to expect when they're coming into a lawyer's office, what a lawyer can actually do. So you talked about getting subpoenas. You talked about when there's denials, you guys fight for it. You guys do so much stuff for the actual case. When does the money part come into play? Does the insurance know, for example, we talked about earlier, your friend, your client, the $40,000 that they offered her. Once you get an attorney who's hired, does the insurance company ever say, never mind, just kidding, we just, here's what happens there?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, most of the time, if it's at our firm, for example, we have a great reputation with the court. We've been doing this a long time. We've had thousands of cases. All the insurance adjusters and attorneys know us. So I think inherently just hiring our firm adds value to your case.
They're
right?
like, stuff.
Exactly, because they're like, oh, shit. Now this is, instead of just, paying this person and the case is done, now this case is going to go on for 2 more years and we're going to have to pay our own legal fees. We're going to have to pay this. We're going to have to pay that.
We're screwed.
Yeah, this is just going to cost us another $20,000 just to keep this case open because they hired this attorney who's now going to be a huge pain in the ass. So I think, yes, just hiring the attorney changes that.
Okay, that's good to know.
Yeah, and ultimately at the end of the day, when we're settling your case, we know so much more than the general public about workers' comp and what people are entitled to, that we add value, right? We can really get you what your case is worth.
That's good. Good to know. So what else do attorneys do for the clients that the client doesn't even know? Besides, obviously, everything you've mentioned, fighting behind the scenes, getting a lot of the doctors to appointments and authorizations. What else?
I mean, there's some stuff that's not related to comp too. You know, we call and negotiate with landlords when, you know, a client hasn't been paid benefits and the landlord's,
that's a good one.
you know, threatening to kick them out. We'll call in favors. You know, we'll make promises that they'll get paid, and we'll try and negotiate so they're not evicted and they're homeless with, you know, with their pets or their family or whatever the case may be. You know, we've had clients that have abusive spouses, and we've found victim shelters for them to stay in. We've arranged separate locations where they can go and stay while they're trying to get away from that person. We've made visits to prisons. We drop off like food and clothing. We're all over the place. We understand that when people are hurt at work and money's tight, it's a stressful situation. We try and make life easy as much as we can, not only for their workers' comp case, but for their life in general.
So it's like a support team. You have a support team. You have someone that can potentially be there for you when you need it. And it's good that you said that, because I think a lot of the times, for the most part, cases will go on, or the significant other is working and there's still some type of payment being made to the house mortgage or to the rent. The bills are still getting somewhat paid. But what happens to that person that doesn't have that person to rely on, or that help? You know, you're not working. Yep. You're not making ends meet. Stress is off the roof. Like, you're just in a shithole. But knowing that you have an attorney that you can actually, I'm pretty sure you guys are even counselors at this point. Like, how do people do not sit there and just want to speak to you and get it all off their chest?
Well, in court, right? You know, sometimes hear lawyers be called counselor, right? And we're counsel, right? We're here to talk to you and hear you out and give you our feedback and our advice, which, you know, hopefully is good. I'll say not all lawyers are created equal, and there's a lot that won't go out of their way to help you out with things that they're really not contractually obligated to. You know, if you're hiring a lawyer for a workers' comp case, they don't need to do anything else except your work comp case. Yeah. And there's some lawyers that stick to that mantra, and there's others, like the lawyers at my firm, where we really go out of our way to go above and beyond and do more than what we're getting paid for, because we want to make sure you're getting the best results possible and that you're getting the help you need outside of workers' comp as well.
Because you guys love what you do.
100%.
There's a big difference. I feel like lawyers choose that career because you like the outcome. I mean, you could have chosen to do criminal. There's so many other routes you could have went, but workers' comp is something that it's kind of like a really good happy feeling, knowing that you secured someone's future. You secured someone from potentially having another second chance at life, you know? And to be able to do that for someone, oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's entirely what motivates us, you know? Sometimes that gets lost in translation. You know, there's lawyers that look at clients as dollar signs, right? And just get this person in, get them out, get their case resolved, and that's the end of it. And sometimes clients think when we're trying to advise them to take a settlement that that's our intention. And it's totally not the case, right? We're looking at it and saying, well, what they're offering or what we can get you right now, this is the best deal. We're telling you to take it because we think this is in your best interest. Right.
But what about the person that thinks, okay, it's in my best interest, but it's also in your best interest because then you're going to take my money?
Of course, we're married, right?
If you make more money, we make some money, so we all get happy.
Exactly, right? So all firms in workers' comp operate on contingency fee basis, which means that we don't charge a fee unless you win and you get paid, and then we get a percentage of what we get you. And so the more you get, the more we get. And so I have zero incentive to get you less than the best result possible, because that means less money in my pocket as well. And of course, I run a business. I have my own bills and things that I need to pay. I need to make money too. And so as a lawyer, I want to get you the best result possible, because that also gets me the best result possible.
Right. So that's good that you mentioned that, because I feel like there's a lot of people that feel, hey, you know, you're screwing me over. Like, you just want me to settle because you want to be done with my case. Like, and you just explained it. The more money you make, why would I want to get you less? Like, that's a loss for the company as well. That's a loss for the attorney as well.
Exactly. Sending you to more medical evaluations, giving you alternatives and treatment and time to heal and really work up the value of the case. That helps you. That helps me. Right. I see no benefit to me as a lawyer doing a half-assed job on your case, rushing you in and out just to settle the case for pennies on the dollar. That makes zero sense. It's a waste of my time. It's a waste of my firm's time. It's a waste of clients' time. Like, we just want the best result possible for everyone.
So I'm going to throw a curveball at you, because this is another question that I've seen get thrown out there, whether it's on forums, whether it's just clients that we've dealt with. But that question is technically, what happens if I don't believe the amount that you're saying is okay for me to receive is what I think I should be getting. Like, there's cases where, as an attorney, I'm assuming you guys say, hey, take this. This is a good settlement, because you're seeing all of the picture, all the cards are being laid out, but the client is not.
Yep.
What happens in that scenario for the client? Like, why would a client think that I should be given more?
There's a lot of times where a client will disagree with our recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
And that's exactly what it is, a recommendation. Not everyone agrees on everything in every conversation, right? I have disagreements with my coworker, with, you know, my significant other, with my family, with my friends. Everyone has disagreements all the time. You know, if you get in a disagreement with your mom, it doesn't mean you like break up with your mom and say, I'm never talking to you again.
I don't know about that one.
You're
just kidding.
a crappy person, right? Like, I hate you, right? But for whatever reason in law, there's this weird situation where clients feel like, well, if I disagree with my lawyer, I need to fire him or something. And usually when we have disagreements, we talk it out, you know, and usually the disagreement is specific to your example. If it's a settlement, the client thinks the amount they're getting is inadequate, I really do my best to try and explain the system to them. And it's a settlement. That means that someone's compromising, right? And there's this joke in the industry, and it's basically paraphrasing here, but it's something along the lines of, you know, you have a good settlement if everyone's pissed off, right? And what that means is your client gave up something they didn't want to, and so did the other side. Everyone made sacrifices to get the deal done. And if you want to get the deal done, sometimes it requires making sacrifices. Maybe you get 95% of what you could get instead of 100%, but that 100% is uncertain, and it may take 2 years.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's a cost benefit analysis, and a lot of that stuff's going on in my head when I'm making recommendations to my client, and just knowledge of the law, and knowledge of what cases are worth, and knowledge of what insurance companies are willing to pay. You know, sure, if you can go get $5,000 more, but it's going to take you 5 years and a lot of headaches, that's up to you. You know, am I going to advise you that's a good idea? No, absolutely not.
Why?
It's 5 years and it's a lot of headaches, you know, and it's not guaranteed.
Would that offer ever, you said it's not guaranteed. Would that offer ever be less than 95? Had I taken the 95 and I was shooting for 100, would they come back and be like, you know what, just for that, we're going to give you 80?
Here's an example. I had a client. They had a treating physician. That treating physician gave them a permanent impairment rating, which has a monetary value attached to it. And I happened to know that treating physician, and I thought they're a pretty good doctor. My client didn't like them. And, you know, that's different. You know, I don't think the doctor had a particularly good bedside manner, so they didn't come across as, you know, warm and fuzzy.
Okay.
But I knew the doctor was competent and really a patient advocate. And I was talking to my client about settlement, and we had a tentative deal worked out where the client was going to settle the case. And the client changed their mind, and their client wanted to go see a qualified medical evaluator, which is another doctor that's used to kind of contest the opinion from the treating physician.
Right.
And so we had a panel, which is essentially 3 doctors, and each side strikes a doctor they don't like, and the third doctor that was on the panel serves as the QME. So we got that panel, and sure enough, all 3 doctors on the panel were really crappy doctors.
Ooh.
It's kind of choosing the best of the worst. And I tried to tell my client, hey, look, if you go to this QME evaluation with this doctor is probably not going to write a favorable report. I know this doctor. I don't think they're good. You know, if you're telling me you want to go, that's fine. You're my boss. You know, as your lawyer, I'm just here to make recommendations. And they wanted to go to the QME. They weren't happy with the treating report. They felt they were entitled to it and it'd be in their best interest. Well, sure enough, the QME report came back and it was awful. And of course, the insurance company started using that as leverage to negotiate down the value of their case.
Wow.
And so instead of having this one report that, as the lawyer, I was pretty happy with, I have a good report now, and then I have this bad QME report, and now the defense attorney is waving this bad QME report in my face like it's gold, telling me that the case is worth less now. And so that's a situation where the client, for whatever reason, didn't trust in my advice and kind of wanted to push the envelope, and sure enough, you know, the value of the case was reduced.
So they ended up losing.
Yeah, it absolutely hurt their case.
That sucks. Well, it's good to know. I mean, have we not had this conversation? There's a lot of people out there that don't understand what is it like, what am I to expect, what does an attorney do for me, specifically when I don't know the system. And I want to say most of the people don't know the system. And just because Joe Blow got $90,000 because he got his finger chopped up doesn't mean that that's going to be your case. Because that's another thing. People think that because my cousin got this much and she only had, and it's like, there's a lot of that out there.
Yep.
But that's not how it works.
Everyone's got their friend Bob who, lost a pinky toe and now he retired as a multimillionaire from a settlement. What they didn't tell you is, Bob had his pinky toe chopped off, but then he had gangrene, his whole leg rotted off, he had to amputate, and then he had an infection again, and now he's in a coma in the hospital.
Yeah.
That's his,
literally.
cut off pinky toe or whatever. But yeah, I mean, every case is different. Every case settles. You could take the same set of facts and put it with a different insurance adjuster or a different defense attorney or a different QME or a different judge or whatever the case, and every case will turn out different every single time. And there's no set formula, but you do the best as you can as a lawyer and advocate on your client's best interests and hopefully get them the best result possible.
The goal is to get that. So I'm glad we had this conversation because I feel like this is going to enlighten and bring so much information, shed light onto so many people that are currently probably in this exact situation.
Yeah.
When is it too late to get an attorney? Like, damn.
I mean, there's some times where it really is like legitimately too late, like a statute of limitations is done or something like that, where it's just, we can't do anything for you. It starts to get too late outside of that when you're really far away from your date of injury. You know, if you're a year and a half later, you've already been seeing really crappy doctors who haven't done anything for you and have written in all their medical reports that there's barely anything wrong with you or you're malingering and making things up. That's really hard to fight. That's really hard from my perspective. The earlier on you get a lawyer, especially, one with a lot of knowledge in the industry that can get you set up with the right doctor immediately, can get the right QME right away, can start getting your medical records and substantiate your injuries, the better off you're going to be.
Right. So it's like a road. It's like a fork road, right? You can either take the road that's going to be like the okay road and then the road that's just like, you're going the wrong way. And when you try to come back to that good road, sometimes it opens up so much that it's too far and it's like, dang. That's why it's good to start when it starts splitting, just make that good decision. Good to know.
We can rescue some cases, and I've done it. I've seen someone who has had a really crappy treating doctor, and they went to a QME, and the QME literally said, there's no injury, this didn't happen at work, and all that stuff.
You sneezed, and that's what happened.
Exactly, right? And we've been able to turn those cases around.
Nice.
Some of them for tremendous value. Others that, quite frankly, the client was like psyched because they're like, I got something. I was going to get nothing, and here you got me, 50 grand instead of 0 or whatever the case may be. Like, cool. I'm glad we could help. But usually when we take on those cases, we always tell the client up front, like, hey, look, like, I don't want to make you feel bad, but this is really messed up. And this is so far down the wrong path. If you get $1, you should be happy.
Yeah.
And that's not saying that like, hey, we're only going to get you $1, but I want to stress just how messed up the case is and how difficult it's going to be to really try and fight. And I'm super honest about it up front.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. So see, lawyers are not bad.
No, well, not all of us are created equal, right? There's a lot of us that do some really shady stuff. Myself, the lawyers at my firm, we practice with the utmost respect for our clients, even for the other side. We do our best to maintain our professional image and respect we have in the field.
That's good to know. So there you have it. It's pretty much in a nutshell what an attorney can do for someone who's fighting a complicated case, whether it could be the easiest case, but it's a system that no working human person knows from the back of their hand. Like, it's impossible.
Yeah, even when you go to court, we'll have trials on issues and stuff, and the judges, they'll still ask us to brief issues, which means basically research and write about a certain area or topic of law. You're talking about people, the lawyers, the judges, combined, decades of experience who are still arguing about how the law works.
Yeah.
And
crazy,
how things should apply. Yeah. And so if you're someone who's never done it before or no experience in law, of course, like, it's just going to be tremendously more difficult.
And then if you need more information, in-depth information, it's really good. We have a pocket guidebook. It explains everything that you need to know as far as how the workers' compensation system works in the basic form. It's super quick. It's not like a chapter, like a million pages. It's super easy. It's beneficial for someone who definitely doesn't understand how the workers' comp system works. You can download it on our website, pacificworkers.com. I believe it's also on the website of Work Comp Talk. We can link it to some of our social media accounts as well. So seek the book. Just get that knowledge in so that when you're actually sitting down with the attorney, you know what to ask. Sometimes people are just like, okay, Okay. And they don't get to anything.
Well, and it's also too, like, you have the consultation. I'll rattle off, 50,000 acronyms, and I talk really fast as is. And so someone's going to walk out of there feeling like they got beat up. Like, they have no idea what I was talking about. Everything went over their head. Like, and they'll be like, wait a second, I didn't understand half of that. So do some research first. If you're going to hire my firm, download our pocketbook and read that first before your consultation. It's free. That way, at least you kind of have a little bit of a map in front of you. But or if you consult with the lawyer and you want to go back and ask him more questions, you don't need to make a decision right away.
Yeah, that's true.
Tell him you need time to think about it and do your research.
Can you go to more than one lawyer?
Absolutely. And it's hard to say whether or not a lawyer is good just in the first one-time consultation. Everyone tries to put their best foot forward, but really, I think you should do your due diligence. You should research. If you Google the lawyers and they're, one of those top couple lawyers on Google, definitely those are the ones you want to stick with. I wouldn't, they say where things go to die is on the second page of Google, right? Because no one ever makes it that far. So if you're on the second page of Google and you're still looking at lawyer websites, go back up top there. Usually it's those first ones. My firm in particular, you'll see up there all the time, right? We've got hundreds of reviews online. They're all positive for the most part. And, I really stick to those top lawyers, I think. If they're not up there, there's a reason.
Yeah. And it doesn't necessarily have to be because they're bad lawyers. It's just maybe they don't have the technology out there that is going to benefit you in the long run. Maybe it's lawyers that still stick to paper and don't have anything on tech, and it's going to slow things down. So
absolutely. Yeah.
Technology is what's running this country and the whole world entirely. Yep. So if the lawyers are on the top page, well, obviously they're doing something right.
Yeah. Look at their website. If it looks like it was made around the same time as Craigslist or when AOL first. Look, Craigslist makes $100 million. It works for them. But, as a lawyer, it's kind of like take pride in your appearance and be with the times. If a lawyer has a website that's super outdated, it's not current, their photos are 15 years old, ask them if they have paper files. They still have paper files. All that stuff's lining up. What else is not up to speed? What else isn't up to par, right? Like, do they have the systems in place and technology to be effective counsel for you?
Right. Because there's a lot of times where I'm assuming doctors request something right away. And by the time it gets from the lawyer to the doctors or to the other defense attorney, like, you're talking about sloth time.
Yeah. So, for example, in a case, we had a trial set the next day and we wanted to have settlement documents signed. We have the ability to do electronic signature at my firm. My client was out of state at the time. Sent my client the documents, had him sign electronically, documents back in 5 minutes, filed with the court, we're good, right?
Yeah.
If you're Bob, who's stuck in the 1960s, and he says, no, you have to come into my office to sign the paperwork, you'd have a different situation there, right?
Right. It'll take longer.
That stuff matters.
It does. Well, it's good to know. I think we've wrapped up everything in a nutshell of what an actual workers' comp attorney. And don't just take it from this podcast. If you're listening to the podcast, there's still so much unknown and there's so much information out there that I really do think it's into anyone's best interest. You're not going to lose anything from hiring an attorney when you're in a situation that you've never been in.
Yep.
Simple as that. I'll just leave it at that. So make sure you catch us on the next episode. Thank you so much for joining. If you haven't subscribed yet to any of our podcasts on your favorite platform, make sure you do so now. Share this podcast with anyone you know, and we hope we can serve you in any way, shape, or form. If there's any question, any other topic you'd like for Bilal to dive into, by all means, write to us. Send us messages or even contact us on our website. You can definitely write the questions on the chat and everything gets back to us, I promise. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, just do your research and, give a lawyer a chance, especially when it comes to comp. I really think in most cases you're better served being represented.
Definitely. Thank you for your time, Bilal. We'll catch you on the next episode.